Okay, we're gonna tie a fly that we've been playing with. I've kind of been holding off on using these Sculpin helmets, but I got some. I had a really good idea, and it actually turned out pretty cool. So, all right, this fly is called a Mohawk Sculpin. Okay, I've got an Allen B200 hook in number 4, and I'm gonna dress the hook with some Montana Fly 3/0 thread that's white. First thing I'm going to do is make a dubbing loop with semi-seal. Now you can use any semi-seal color that you want. Just choose an olivish color. I've got a kind of a golden peacock color that I'm going to use for this fly. Now this fly starts out just like our Sculpito pattern, but it doesn't end up that way. We have these ball bearing dubbing tools on our site. All you do is you make your loop, spin it up. You've got a really tight dubbing loop in pretty quick time. Now that I have the dubbing loop all tied in, I'm going to take a piece of Velcro. Curtis's Velcro sucks. And brush it all out. And pull it all down like that, because that's actually going to be the bottom of the fly. This fly is designed to ride inverted, which is a really cool thing about these Sculpin heads. They allow your fly to really ride snag free in the water. Once I get to this point, I'm actually going to take the hook out of the vise and put it in upside down. Okay, the bulk of the fly is going to be this brown barred Magnum olive zonker strip. And I'm going to tie in the tail that extends past the fly. It's just slightly longer than the body of the fly. And I'm going to puncture it through the hook right there. If you do that, you don't really need to lash it down at all on the fly. As long as you tie it in up here somewhere, it's going to be really solid. Now we're going to take some olive gold silicone streamer legs. You take a tab of them, and I'm going to take about half the tab. Just kind of tear it off. And I'm going to take that whole section that I tore off and tie it on the far side of the hook shank. And I'm going to trim it off right about even with the barb of the hook. That's going to kind of create some sparse wiggly legs on this. I'm going to tie in the exact same amount of legs on the near side of the hook. Trim those off as well. So this is kind of what we're working with right now. I know it doesn't look very impressive. So I'm going to tie those down really well. And you actually need a little bit of bulk up here at the head to really create, or to fill up the space in this Sculpin head. So that's how we're looking so far. It looks good. The next step is I'm going to take some olive Schlappen. I'm going to tie it by the base instead of from the tip, because I want these really long fibers, and I'm not going to use too many wraps on this one. As you wrap this, you just need to make sure you don't trap any of these escapee rubber legs. As you can see, we've got materials going every which direction here. So about 4 turns of the Schlappen and I'll tie it off. Alright. At this point we're ready to put on our sculpin head. And the idea with the rabbit strip is I'm going to pull it all the way over the head and tie it in at the eye of the fly. Alright, so I've already placed the eyes on my sculpin, or on the sculpin head, and the reason for this is because if you try to put them on after you've pulled the zonker strip over the top of the head, they can kind of get stuck in the fibers. So when you do this, you want to make sure you give it a really generous coating of super glue so that it will lock it in place. Now I'm going to take these fibers and kind of tease them to each side. I don't know how much that helps, but alright, so I've got the head in. It looks about like that. So the last step is to reattach your thread at the eye. Now I'm going to pull this big annoying strip of rabbit that's been bugging us the whole time and just pull it right over the top of that head and measure where you're going to tie it in. And I'll moisten my finger to mark that spot. Okay, now before we tie that in, I'm going to take this super glue and just tag a little bit of super glue right on top of the head. And that will bond the leather to that metal. Make sure that's nice and centered. Got that tied down now. It helps to have some fine point scissors to trim this part off. Alright, so you can see kind of crowded the eye a little bit. Not a big deal. I can just come in and take my thread wraps and push that rabbit right out of the way, and then just kind of build up a little bit of a head. So you can see that zonker goes right in between those eyes. Now the final step is just to take a marker and color your thread. And now I'm just going to take some UV Cure epoxy. I've got this Loon UV Clear Fly Finish, and just coat the head with it. There you have it, the Mohawk Sculpin. So a pattern that's going to slither right along those rocks, and should be an effective pattern for trout.